We started something, gonna get together. Every man and woman, boy and girl, loving one another, all the sisters and the brothers, loving one another around the world. Get on the line for love, hey, get on the line for love, hey. The sun is rising on a brand new morning. Got to tell the people everywhere. Got to pass it on before all hope is gone. Let the light go by you if you dare. Get on the line for love, hey. Get on the line for love, hey. Come on. Can't you see what's happening? Open up your mind. Reach out your hand to your brother and sister, or you're gonna be left behind. Hey, get on the line. Get on the line for love now. Get on the line for love. Hey, we started something, gonna get together. Every man, woman, boy, and girl, loving one another, all the sisters and the brothers, loving one another around the world. Come on, get on the line for love now. Get on the line for love, hey. Get on the line for love, hey. Hands. Come on, get on the line. 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 Hey, get on the line. Get on the line now. Hey, get on the line. Get on the line. Hey, get on the line.
Sing me, sing me, sing me, sing me, sing me, baby. Sing me, sing me, jingle, jangle. Sing me, baby.
Ever since I met you, I couldn't want you better. I couldn't love you stronger if I tried. It's my true heart I'm showing. All my nose would be growing.
There we go.
You know that it gets longer when I lie.
Doing the little jingle jangle thing there.
La-di-da-di-da.
It's my favorite kind of music. Free. All you needed was a pair of scissors and a turntable.
All right.
Just cut on the dotted line there.
Ain't kinda pretty. And down here in the city.
So anyways,
First,
yes, I've stolen Mod Pro and Sparky Toaster's thunder, and I've claimed first this week. But Sparky got in second with Yo Yo Yo, and then
Yo,
Mod
yo,
Pro
yo.
waved at us.
he got the first yo in.
You got the first yo, but I got the first.
Next time it'll be first yo.
First yo. There we go. That's next week's topic.
Oh, that's badass.
If I don't think of
So last week you were talking about your 35 millimeter film disaster.
yes.
Frickin' disaster.
Yeah, well, I now have the film loaded properly in the camera because I advanced it before closing the door. But I don't have anything I want to take pictures of. I mean,
I know. I was just gonna say, yeah, all loaded up, ready to go, and nothing to shoot.
I'm just waiting for the next eclipse is what I'm doing.
Exactly. Is the film already expired?
No, it's not. It will be by the time of the next eclipse, though.
Why don't you put the whole thing in a freezer, right?
Put the whole camera and all. I'm gonna shoot it. I'm eventually
Yeah.
gonna. I mean, heck, I've got chemicals mixed
Like I
up
said,
now.
go to the nearest schoolyard and go around the back. No, not that. No, there's lots of
Damn, Brian, that's cold. Trying
Take-
to get me
take
locked
pictures.
up for.
Take pictures of empty park benches. Take pictures of bicycles that are just sitting here and there. Those are easy to spot.
I guess I can. I gotta go
you know,
into
you
the
go to say a Wendy's or something like that, and look around the back, see if there is a bicycle sitting there.
well.
Some employees parked his bike.
The thing is, it's 800 speed film, and so I'm gonna want to shoot it at like nighttime.
Well, you could close down the aperture, can't you?
I could, but I may as well use the film for what its purpose is.
Sure.
Use the film for its strength, not its weakness. So
Well,
I
that-
should
That's fine. That's fine.
I should
Hey,
shoot
yeah.
some night scenes. Maybe I should one of these weeks I should work late, and then
Let's see. That camera has a built-in meter, correct?
correct.
Yeah. So yeah, you should be able to do that either night scene or dusk before it gets totally
Right. Like I could
totally
bring
dark them on and go. Well, you're not going to get that much.
I could plan to work late one night, and then I could say, hey Jim, let's go for an after work drink or 10 and take some pictures. And the Sparky suggesting we should go to the Devil's Tree and shoot it at night.
Let's see how long a drive would that be from where you are?
Too long.
Something for not after work.
Sparky says, just like a sniper, all loaded up and nothing to shoot.
Yeah,
That's a
you
good
got
problem to have. I would not mind.
Actually, I knew this
having that
woman that
problem.
worked with a photographer
Uh-huh.
that would do, the school photos, right? Get all the kids together. And I hadn't seen her for quite a while, and I saw her. Oh, hi! Are you still shooting kids?
Oh, that sounded wrong.
Well, she did laugh. So, and actually, she had moved on to something else. So,
See,
in
so
fact,
we've
she was
gone.
moving toward retirement.
So we've evolved from making jokes about putting kids in cages to shooting kids. So
Yeah. I mean, it's easier.
both jokes that were far funnier in an earlier innocent age when that wasn't such a reality of life in this country. But on a lighter note, let's talk about killing computers instead.
Whoa! Let's finish the films deal.
The film.
So I had
I'm gonna shoot
my
it sometime.
own fucking film disaster.
Oh, do tell.
And this is not recoverable because a roll of film like 120 has a paper backing and you see the number through the screen.
Okay.
So it went through fine, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I was going to shoot it all in sunlight, and in fact, I was using a little close-up lens and this and that and the other thing. And then when I got developed, it came out all black. Well, the camera has a setting. You have normal aperture settings, and then you have pinhole settings, which
So you
is
said it's a
equivalent to, like f150. So it's a very small hole. Well, a typical exposure in full sunlight is about a half a second. And normally the camera clicks off at a 60th of a second. So actually I did a 60th second exposure with a pinhole.
So that
Now,
would explain
the nice thing
uh,
about going to a retail outfit to do the developing and scanning.
they don't charge you the paper because they just give you back your black negatives, right?
Well, I don't actually print anymore.
Ah.
I can just get a digital.
Oh, they just scan it. Okay.
Yeah. It's still $25, okay,
Okay.
for the processing and the scanning.
You could be paying a whole lot more and wasting a whole bunch of time if you just developed your own.
Here's the good part though, right?
Okay, the good part
Is it came out blank. They actually scanned like 8 images of nothing
before they stopped.
to kind of show. And the nice thing is, so you give them the film, they develop it, then they scan, and then they email the images. Okay, so they had emailed the images to me, and there were only 8 of them. I go, what the hell? So I started looking at them. Oh, this is nothing. Something fucking went south. And then I went and picked up the negatives, which instead of nicely cut and put in envelope, they put it in a small cube about the size of a Rubik's cube.
Okay,
that's going to be difficult to store. It's like, what? But why am I keeping them? Anyway,
they didn't know where to cut it.
See, they were not cut. It was just rolled up, and
they didn't have the lines to go by. So
there's a couple where you could kind of see the lines, but you could still see the numbers because they developed fine.
So they were like, whatever, we'll give it to him. He'll sort it out.
Anyway, so what I did today is I cut it into approximately 2 frames per image and stuck them into an envelope. I kept asking myself, why am I keeping these? They're actually in one frame.
Well, I guess the question is, Brian, who's going to have to deal with your crap? And how much do you like or dislike that person?
Not my problem.
Morbid question, I know. but basically you have just created another piece of trash for whoever that is to toss out, what you've done.
Right. So anyway, then I grabbed, in fact, when I brought that roll in to be developed, I bought 3 rolls, 2 rolls of Kodak Portra 400 and one roll of it's called Cineshot or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what I got the 800T of for the
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and you got T, so it's tungsten.
It's tungsten balanced, so it's it's motion picture 35 millimeter film that is tungsten balanced, but I do see people who use it. Basically what they do is they take Kodak Vision 3 800 tungsten balanced motion picture film, remove the remjet backing from it so that it doesn't it cause problems with processing, so that way you can send it in for C41 processing, or you could DIY C41 or DIY ECN2, since Vision 3 stock is for ECN2. But I do see people use this tungsten balanced film to shoot like nighttime outdoor shots all the time. Apparently it's good for that.
Well, and in fact, a lot of the lighting, it depends on where you are. A lot of the lighting is still tungsten light.
Probably not.
Of course, you go to one place, you go, oh, that's mercury light. That's different. Oh, now, in fact, my street is all LED lights now, which, again, is different.
It's all getting scanned in, and you can do color balancing in the software. So
that's all
really
fun.
matter?
That's always fun.
Oh, tons. As I discovered.
Anyway, so I grabbed one of the rolls that I got, one of the Kodaks 400, and I shot them. In fact, I did. So there's 3 aperture settings besides pinhole. There's what they call cloudy. There's part sun and then sunny. Okay. So I took, it's 12 on the roll. So I took 3 different images. 4 different images and at each setting. So I did one. Okay, I got into this tree, click, change it, click, change it back, different setup, click, click, click. So I knocked off the next roll of film pretty quickly, being very careful to check the setting between every shot. That's the thing that I fucked over, right? I should have just checked the setting because I'm going to use the same setting on everything. I don't have to do anything. Yeah, you do. Make sure you didn't screw up.
You set it to pinhead setting because
that's right.
You're being a pinhead with
a
pinhole. So you just need to put your head in the aperture. And now Sparky asking if the camera has an eclipse setting. Because you said it had cloudy, it had sunny, as pinhead, but no eclipse setting. I guess
no,
I
in
guess
fact,
you'd
I
use
haven't-
cloudy.
I haven't read anything about eclipse setting. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to do it. Maybe you use pinhole.
Yeah, that might be. Well, you probably need to use a filter for partial.
Otherwise, you're going to burn a hole through the negative.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, hey, it's too late to worry about that, right?
right. So you shot a new roll. After
new
that
roll,
and
and
you're waiting
I-
on the processing, or
No, I got the processing this morning, and then I went
Okay.
up to pick up the negatives, and the lady at the desk said, "Oh, and they gave this to me for free."
Oh,
That's the nice thing about the retail. I was going to get to that. So this didn't cost me anything other than driving down there.
because the last one didn't have anything on it.
Yeah, they're very nice about it.
That's a nice courtesy there.
Yeah, I mean, it did cost them time and effort to.
I mean, it cost
do-
them the same amount of effort and chemicals and time to process that.
Yeah.
So it's
Sure.
that really is.
although
quite a nice
since
gesture of
he
them.
only scanned like 8 of them, yeah, that's probably
That saved them some.
half the effort. Well, of course, there is the setup for that. So yeah,
I
probably
will
not
say
saved.
that I have had bad rolls of film back in my days of the point and click 35 millimeter camera I had growing up.
Oh yeah,
But and yeah, they would charge by the picture. So there were times where if I had a roll that nothing came out.
yeah,
It
it happens.
And so I think when I went and I picked up the pictures, they gave me an envelope with a pamphlet in it on tips to taking better pictures, and it was like free, or it was like 32 cents or something like that. Now Dune suggests that to burn a hole in the negative, the film would have to be in line with the lens. I guess if I see, I don't know. I don't know much about.
In fact, actually, on this camera, you can use pinhole, take the lens off, and shoot without the lens. I mean, that's the standard pinhole. But
Right.
then I forget, I think they call it enhanced pinhole, where you leave the lens on.
I will say I had a if actually this is quite a common thing, that a projector lamp will burn through Super 8 film. Because a lot of times the end of the film, it kind of catches at the end, and you have to pull the last few frames through
Yeah.
to pull it through. Heck, all our movies have little burn marks in the final frames from
Yeah.
where it caught.
Well, of course, when you're running it, the lamp and the mechanism gets hotter and hotter and hotter.
Right.
So yeah, and the thing is, that's the interesting thing with slides. You can sit there and look at at one slide for quite a long time before you burn a hole in it.
Right. But it's
know.
designed for that. But movies are designed to
Exactly, to keep on
keep
moving.
moving. So, because I remember growing up, our projector, it has a pause mode, but whenever you paused it, it would dim the light, and I was always pissed off. Like, why would they design this projector to not
Yeah.
show me the still image I'm trying to look at? It looks so great when it's running as a
And,
movie.
and here's the shame.
And then when the thing got stuck at the end and I didn't catch it right away, and it just starts burning the emulsion right off in the final, I'm like,
Right.
oh, that's why.
So yeah, I mean, it's too bad. Can you get an LED projector bulb? I mean, that would be the solution.
I do know that my current projector that I use is a newer projector, and it uses a smaller bulb with a mirror around it. It's more of an 80s vintage projector as opposed to the early 70s vintage projector that was the family one that has the large bulb with the pins that mounts in there. I don't know if I've never tested if the bulb in the newer projector will burn through film or not. I mean, it's still a very bright bulb. Actually, it's brighter than the older projector, because when I picked up the old projector, I set it up, I started using it. I'm like, hey, it's the projector.
Maybe they mounted
these
a fan
So,
in
yeah, it
the
should
part
be.
with the bulb to cool it off.
Well, I mean, but the point is that the emulsion is quite fragile on that. So I don't know. I don't
And
know
I
what.
agree. That's why I said Sparky. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
LEDs can
I
get
agree.
pretty damn bright.
You probably have to adapt some things. I don't know if they still make Super 8 projectors or. I mean, people still dabble in that stuff, but heck, I mean, Kodak just made a new Super 8 camera that is super, super expensive. That they might sell 2 of them
That's a brilliant marketing strategy.
to the same person.
That's right. The guy wanted a spare.
He said when he heard the price, he said, "Oh, I'll take 2." No, I don't know how many they'll sell, but they're really expensive. That most people that are talking about it, it's like, wow, they did it. They finally got the new camera out, but man, is it expensive. So like all the people who are talking about it are talking about how they're not buying it. So that's what makes me a little concerned that sales are not going to be too good. But yeah, anyways, so we're all in the house here. Sparky's here. Mod Pro's here. Dune is here. So it's time to talk about the feet. Because, and this is for Mod Pro, because I mentioned on Saturday, we'll talk about Saturday shortly, how I was looking forward to Sunday to talk about the short video I sent Dune, because Dune never said anything back about it. And I knew Mod Pro would get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm actually gonna bring up it's a YouTube short. Oh, does YouTube Shorts not have a pause button? Oh, there it is. Did they have a pause button that actually is useful? All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna present. Thank you, Sparky. Sparky, bringing the feet emoticons here. So anyways, for Mod Pro, this is the video that I sent Dune through Messenger this past week. And we're just going to go ahead and do a screen share of this Brave tab. And the topic of this short is how Gen Z will get drafted. So, I don't know, Brian, how do you think Gen Z is going to get drafted?
What do you mean drafted? Like for the military or something?
Right. How will Gen Z get drafted?
I don't
What do
know.
you think? We'll find out here. So here we go. Let's no, there we go.
Conor McDuff.
Yeah.
I'm the local recruitment officer. You have been drafted to join the army.
Hell no. I refuse to be a part of this military-industrial complex, and I refuse to fight your war. You and your fat cat bosses can go serve on the front lines if you care so much. There's no way me or anyone in this generation is going to fight another bloody war.
If you join, I'll send you pictures of my feet.
Worth it.
So there you go. That's
it.
That's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna recruit them with pictures of feet. Sparky got to laugh at that one. So
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, anyways, I did a little computer streaming this past Saturday because my Computerland BC88 number 4 arrived this past week.
Yeah.
And it is a heap of rusty parts. And of course, the reason I bought it, even though I could clearly see in the pictures that it was quite crusty and rusty looking, is that it has a hard drive in it, an MFM hard drive. And so I wanted to see if there was software on the hard drive because I am still looking for the original Computerland software that would come on these machines. And I'm still looking for a way to make use of the built-in clock card so that I don't have to set the date every damn time I turn one of these computers on.
Yeah, right. That's damn inconvenient.
And I'm getting closer, but I'm not there yet. And I was on Saturday evening, like after 9, I think I was on.
Because this can these computers connect to the internet?
No. Well, they have ISA slots, so you could put an ISA modem in there and run
dial-up
DOS-based
modem.
applications. I mean, it's a DOS computer, so
Right.
actually, I mean, How to Drink did a video recently where they installed AI to work on a Compaq portable to generate AI recipes for mixed drinks, and so that was cool. So clearly, he got the Compaq portable online somehow to get this ChatGPT working through it, or so there's ways to do that.
Oh, here's something funny. I joined on Facebook. I joined some TRS-80 groups,
Okay.
and one of the groups suggests that you need to own one.
Well, that helps.
Anyway, so I was kind of going through it, and people are talking about all of these projects they're doing. They're either getting new case, or they get some old TRS-80 that's in a handmade case, and they're going for original enclosures.
Okay.
So they're replacing the handmade stuff with enclosures, and then they're asking each other, "Hey, do you know where you can get a version of Tris-DOS or Multi-DOS or LDOS or New DOS? You know, one of the many."
Right.
Which I find rather amusing. Oh, and there's also an emulator or some kind of a device that gives you a USB port, which didn't exist back then, of course.
Right.
And you can plug in a USB stick or memory stick, whatever, and it'll emulate a drive.
Right. Well, that's a big thing, and that's actually was kind of the topic of my stream on Saturday, because most people that are doing vintage computers, the one of the things that helps make it easier is to forego dealing with vintage hard drives, because there's
or
two,
even floppy drives.
Yeah, because there's two things that have moving parts, and those are the drives and the printers. And the LGR did a great video about banging his head up against a brick wall trying to get a 90s inkjet printer working, at which, you know, we get to see him fail for a half hour, and then he ends the episode. So that was fun. But yeah, like for the old PCs, they make ISA cards. They're XT IDE cards, which is basically a IDE controller for XT machine, an ISA card that has a connector to take a flash card and use that as an IDE drive.
Right.
And it's got a bootable BIOS built into there so that the computer sees the card, boots to the BIOS, and then recognizes the drive.
Nice.
Yeah, and so one of my Computerland computers, the nicer of the three of them, that came without a hard drive and in its original box with two floppy drives, I put the XT IDE card in there. But the other two working machines have MFM hard drives in them at this time. One of which is I'm making to look as close as I can to the one we had growing up. And I've soldered in new batteries on all three of those machines. So machine number 4 came in, and I open it up. I take all the cards out. I clean things up. I take the power supply, connect it to one of the drives, and I plug it in, and I flip the switch up. No power. I tried on a different drive. No power. So the power supply in the Rust Bucket machine is dead. So for starters, if I were to want to fix that up into a working machine, I need to get a working power supply.
Do you have a good power supply on one of the other machines?
Well, the other 3 machines all have working power supplies, and I have a spare new power supply that has the same type of connectors. It doesn't fit into the case or have the big red switch. It has a push button.
You can at least plug that in and try it. Yeah.
Right. Well, at this point, I'm more interested in the cards and the hard drive and things like that. So I took the hard drive controller and the cables and the built-in hard drive.
Sparky Toaster asked if there's more than one HD connector.
Well, that depends. MFM controllers generally will support up to 2 hard drives, but you have to have
2 connectors on it, right?
Well, 3 actually, because MFM drives have 2 Well, do you mean 2 connectors on each drive?
Connectors for 2 drives. Yeah. There's 2 cables. I forget.
Right. Because an MFM drive takes 2 cables. The wide cable, which I believe is like to communicate with the drive
data.
and send command. No, the data's on the thinner cable. The input output is the
you're right.
Is on the thinner
been a long
cable.
time since I've done that.
So an MFM controller will have one wide cable, which will have 2 connectors, the second one, which is past a twisted pair, and then it'll have 2 connectors for 2 of the narrow cables. So if you're hooking up 2 hard drives, you got to have 3 cables. One wide cable that has 2 connectors, one past a twisted pair, which you could buy the wide cable that only has 1 connector on it if you're really only interested in connecting 1 drive. So sometimes you might open up a computer and you don't even have the cable and the connector for a second drive. And so you'd have to get the cable. So yeah, that technology does support that, but I've stuck with just connecting 1 drive at a time for now.
Oh, and this one group that assumes that you have a TRS-80, it doesn't actually, they have a questionnaire at it.
Mhm.
And they didn't ask if you actually still own a TRS-80, but they did ask what is your favorite computer platform? And I says, hey, the latest and greatest Intel Windows /Linux type machine.
Intel.
The hotter the better.
I'm AMD all the way, man.
Well, fuck you, you idiot.
Same to you, buddy.
Then get the boxing gloves.
Intel's too overpriced. No, I did.
Whatever.
Well, heck, my first build was an Intel Pentium 4, and after that, I went back to AMD because anytime I was pricing things out.
Well, the thing is people. I've known people that say, "Oh, AMD is much better. It's faster. It's blah blah blah." Like those 2 companies leapfrog each other all the time.
They do.
If you want the latest technology, just wait until your favorite one makes the leap ahead of the other.
Yeah, I don't sweat that stuff. Because I don't ever
Well,
buy.
the cool thing is
I don't buy
that-
the greatest. I buy like just a little bit below the greatest because
cool-
there's that
well,
sweet
of
spot with the
course.
price.
Oh, absolutely. And
I
I
go
don't
for
buy
the
the
sweet
greatest
spot.
either. Although this notebook that I have is a pretty damn good notebook.
That's cool.
It's, shall we say, it's gamer's grade,
Oh, nice.
which is better than a business grade.
Yeah.
And okay, I was going to say something. Fuck. Something about AMD versus Intel.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. So, I mean, it's kind of fun. Yeah, I typically buy, in fact, before going to Singapore, I bought a CPU, a motherboard,
Yep.
copies of Windows 7.
Oh, wow.
A couple of other things to be able to put together a working computer.
Oh, I see.
I haven't used it yet.
So you still have an unused brand new Windows 7 license.
I think it's still in the shrink wrap.
You're past the cutoff date to convert that to a Windows 10 license. So
why would anybody do that?
Well, because Windows,
except for Marsh, he would do that.
well, Windows 7's no longer supported and thus not secure to run. But but if you're gonna isolate it off the internet, that would be fine.
So when you left Tharco, what were some of the oldest systems still running back in the plant? Because they had machines running specific hardware.
Well, when I left Tharco, when PCA switched things over, their network wouldn't let XP machines join the domain. So everything was up to 7 when I left.
Ah.
And I think it was after I left that my Fong had to deal with the migration to 10.
Didn't they have some equipment back there that ran on a DOS machine?
They did. The Corrugator was not a non-networkable machine,
Right.
and it ran on. It must have been DOS, because I recall that there was Windows 3.1 under the hood in that machine, because there was the thing is that the machine was like in a cabinet that you accessed outside the shack. There's like a little shack inside the back there where the controllers would stand behind multiple, and there were screens built into these terminals, a built-in keyboard, a built-in like trackpad thing. And at some point, the CRT screens built into this control board started breaking. And the thing is that I went a number of years before I even saw this stuff because they never asked us in IT to touch this. That fell under maintenance. So Eddie and his guys would tinker with that. And then when Eddie started getting stuck, that's when he started asking me for help. But he
I've got this old shit back here.
But what Eddie figured out was that when the monitor died, there was a VGA connector that was connecting to the built-in monitor that died.
Sweet.
So then he went and asked us for other monitors. And so by the end, there were actually like LCD monitors sitting on top of the dead CRT screen that was connected in, replacing that. And then at some point, like the rollerball broke, and he found that was a serial port mouse. And so that's when he came to me one day and he asked, by any chance, do you have any serial mice? And I had serial to PS2 adapters and PS2 mice, but not every PS2 mouse is compatible with a PS2 to serial adapter.
Yes.
Right. And it had been many years before that was even a consideration of the manufacturers of mice. So the PS2 mice we had wouldn't work. So that was actually when my Fong was out on maternity leave, and Renee was filling in for her. And he had a wireless serial mouse of some sort that he brought in the next day. And then I got on the horn with one of our suppliers of stuff, and I said, could you find me serial mice? And he said, let me check a few sources and see what I can dig up for you.
Right.
And he called back. He said, well, I found a supplier that has 3 of them. I'm like, okay, order them. How many do you want? Yes.
Yes.
And I ordered brand new in the packaging, all 3 of those serial mice, and I gave them to Eddie. And because wired was better than dealing with this wireless thing that you had to change the batteries. But he kept the wireless one too. Renee was like, here, keep this. So we gave Eddie 4 mice to work with this thing. But then the other thing that happened was we give him the mouse, and he connects the mouse, and a Windows 3.1 window pops up asking for disk 6 to install mouse driver.
What the fuck?
And so Eddie came to me and said, by any chance, do you have a set of 3.5-inch Windows 3.1 floppies? And I said, not right now, but if you don't ask me where I got them from, I can get you some. And he said, okay. And I installed uTorrent onto my work computer and found a torrent site that had Windows 3.1 disks, downloaded the torrent, wrote the disks, deleted uTorrent from my computer, and said, here you go. Here's your bootleg Windows 3.1 disks.
That's right. And again, I'm not going to tell you where they came from.
Right. Which he didn't use to install a new version of a new installation of Windows. He was just using it to install the driver on a perfectly valid licensed copy of Windows that was on that machine.
Legit, man.
So totally legit. The only thing I did was open up our network to huge security vulnerabilities downloading torrents. But other than that,
hey, no big
perfectly.
deal.
Oh, heck. Our Texas locations did worse than that. I was cleaning up viruses from their computer on a weekly basis at their worst.
Right.
Oh, God. It was a different time. Everyone had local admin rights on their machine. I mean, security was a joke for so many companies for so many years. But yeah, so that technically, yes, a machine was running Windows 3.1 under the hood.
You know, if you wanted
after
to
I left Arco.
have a loud conversation, you could ask Carl on what he thought of giving a person admin rights to his user account.
What did he think?
Hell no! You know, because he was a hardcore Linux. You have to have a root user. The average user can't have that.
Well, when I came into the building, every machine, the user had local admin rights on their machine.
Exactly. And,
So
and if,
what-
if
so
Carl
was
went out
Carl-
into the field, he would have been going nuts.
So what, was Carl just oblivious his time working there?
Well, he didn't work with the users like that.
Ah, he didn't support the computers.
Yeah, he was writing programs
Yeah.
like me.
Okay. But if he knew what was going on.
Oh yeah, he would have gone crazy.
Well, the problem is that, mind you, it's not just me and my Fong. It's not just us support people or IT
Sure.
desktop support people. It was everything at the time, because if I didn't give a user local admin rights on their machine,
Yeah,
their programs didn't work right.
sure.
And that is something that has changed. It is now anything is programmed expecting users to not have local admin rights. But that was not the case of
yeah,
all software
yeah.
back then. Now, granted, if I was a security expert, or we had a security expert working for us to consider those things, they would have figured out how to make those applications work without having to just open up all the rights on everything.
Yeah, right.
But-
Exactly.
But I didn't have time for that shit. That's not what you hired me for. I didn't have training on that. I just knew how to make it. So I just followed the precedent that was set before me. Give it all.
The annual audit had an IT component,
Hmm.
and they would come around and check this and that and the other thing.
Okay.
The IT manager in my earlier days, he got written up because he had a piece of paper with his SAP, not his program access, but the support line access. The password was on a piece of paper, taped to his screen. That's not even a security risk.
Well, it
But he
is
got
if you can
written
do
up
something
anyway.
with it.
And they didn't know what it was for. So
Oh, so they didn't even know what they were writing them up for.
basically, well, it was a password that was taped to the screen. That's a no-no. I mean, I understand that, but the violation is not a really big deal. But
It's
I
kind-
mean, like they catch stuff like this. Would they go around to see that the users have the proper rights and access rights? No.
See, the big problem is that security policy usually ignores convenience. And the problem with ignoring convenience
Yeah.
is that people will find ways to make things convenient at the expense of policy if you won't make things convenient for them.
Well, the thing is, you need to
And-
have a security guy that monitors it.
Right, but you can only monitor so much
Sure.
at a time. And,
Well, but that would be
and
the
you could keep
full-time job.
firing people, but it's
Yeah,
human
but
nature.
people don't know how to give themselves those rights.
Well, let me give you an example. I mean, this is I'm talking conceptually. I'm not even talking IT, because you walk into a store, they put the expensive stuff behind a locked door.
Or at a Walmart today in our area, you have some really cheap stuff. Why is that in a glass thing? Why do I have to call a guy to get a key?
There's a reason for
That's
for
absurd.
anytime someone has made some decision and it is ridiculous the things that get locked now. But
Well, they kind of go,
It's-
well, let's see, we've
but-
had a lot of theft in this area, so we're just going to lock this whole area.
but let's stay on track.
yeah,
So the and this is a basic concept: lock and key. So who has a key? The employees that need to get the thing out for the customer have the key. How many keys are there? Well, one usually. Or when I was working in the department at Walmart, there was one key to open up the game case. Well, so what would the secure way to do this be? Have a person in the department hold the key. That's not convenient, because if you got 5 people working the floor, one person's got the key, 4 people don't.
hey, Bob, get
Chances-
over here with the key, right?
Chances are a customer wants a game from the case, they're going to have one of the employees that don't have the key help them, and then now I got to track down the person with the key. Now, you could just say, oh, we'll just have the person that's holding the key stay nearby the games, but the thing is inevitably we walk around, we get called somewhere else.
Sure.
You're near the game case,
Absolutely.
you're called to look at a TV. I'm over at the CD rack, I get called over to help someone in the game.
Absolutely.
common practice for most of my time working at Walmart was to hang the keys on a hook next to the register in the department. And there wasn't always someone running that register. And common practice for the head of security when visiting a store was to walk into electronics department, look to the left, look to the right, look to the register, pick up the keys, go find the part manager, and hand them the keys and say, look at what I was able to just pick right up without anyone noticing.
Now, was it a spot where the customers could just walk up and grab the keys?
If they do it, yeah. I mean, it was
Yeah,
behind the
if
register.
you're walking around,
Yeah.
if you're walking around and you see the keys, I know what that is. Boom.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, someone
It's
could
not
just,
even in a drawer.
I mean, we would hang it maybe underneath some things, but it wasn't obvious, but it wasn't
Now,
unobvious.
so here was the thing. One time we were at a Walmart and we're gonna this is behind a glass case. That's a pain in the ass. Call somebody. 20 minutes later, a guy shows up, and he has like a cell phone to unlock the thing. So then it'll know who and what and et cetera, unlocked that thing, and there's no frickin' key to play with, which I think was fantastic.
That is great. You see, and that's the thing. So when considering security, you need to consider convenience.
Of course, Walmart still doesn't.
When it's
have
not
the,
convenient, that's
the
when you
tap
get.
and pay in it yet.
When it's not convenient, that's when people add in their own conveniences, like hang the keys up where anyone could just grab them.
Sure, but they don't have tap and pay yet.
Hmm.
They're not going to support Apple Pay or Google Pay or tap with your tap credit card.
Yeah.
Oh well, you can still put it in the slot with the chip.
I usually here's what I found: if you put it into the slot, it sits there, and you wait, and then it beeps when it's time to take it out. If you hold it up to tap, sometimes the tap thing is right next to the screen, and when you tap, you cover the screen, and so it's like this game of, did it detect the tap yet? Did it not detect the tap? Oh, did I move it too far? Do I need to move it close? Do I need to, and so to me, it's just easier
Part
to just
of the trick is also
put it
figure
in the
out the
slot.
best place to set the card. Because in fact, on some screens, like it shows you the little tap symbol on the
Right.
side, and that's not where you tap.
The slot is more definite, more, this is where you put it.
absolutely.
I mean, the tap is kind
Of course, when
more-
until
I
it
don't
forgets how to read your card, which is
So-
a pain in the ass.
So
as well.
I prefer the slot to the tap. I'm just saying. I don't think the tap was an upgrade from the slot.
Well, the tap is good when you're paying with your cell phone. And I'm getting actually pretty
I don't need
good at that. In fact, if we were going to go
Yeah,
do
because
a repeat of going into San Francisco and use the Clipper card, it would actually work for me because now I know how to do it.
because the ability to clone our credit cards onto electronic devices is not at all a security nightmare waiting to happen.
Right.
No, I don't want it to be easy to make a copy of my credit card. That is not a feature that I want. I don't think that was a good idea at all.
Sure.
But
Sure.
anyways,
Unfortunately, the chip can be read from a distance, right? Where the tap, it has to be pretty close, I think.
Hey, look, as long as I'm not responsible for stuff I don't do and I get refunded anytime I got to report something, I'm
Watch
fine.
your credit card bills.
I do.
Yeah. Some people don't.
It's hard to when you funnel everything through it, but I scroll through. Am I 100% diligent? Do I match up every receipt with every line? No, but I know what I'm doing, and I know what the number should be, and I do, read through. And if there's something, every now and then there'll be like a few lines that I'm like, I'm not sure what that is because that description's very vague. And then it's like, oh, it's the dildo I bought. Okay, next item.
There you go. In fact, actually, when you use Apple Pay, it's like, so who is responsible for showing you a receipt?
I don't know.
Because Apple doesn't seem to tell you fucking anything.
I don't use it, so I wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, I think Google Pay is going to be the same.
But Sparky, going back to the mouse issue, when when Eddie was looking for a cereal mouse. You should have said, yes, I have a mouse that likes Cheerios.
Plain original Cheerios or some kind of flavored Cheerios?
First one, then the other. So back to my computers. So I took the MFM drive and the controller and the cables out of the scrap heap.
That's
that was
the
not turning
motherfucking
on.
drive, right?
The motherfucking mother drive.
Right.
And I put it into one of my known working Computerland computers. And wouldn't you know it, I got a 1701 error.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which device did you move?
The MFM drive, controller, and cables.
Oh, okay. Oh.
1701, which basically means, yeah, I see that there's a controller here, and I'm supposed to be talking to a hard drive, but I ain't talking to it. You know, so I had a known working hard drive, so I took off the drive that was in the new computer, and I connected my known working hard drive, and
The new rusty computer. Sorry.
All right, let's start from the beginning. I have the rusty computer that doesn't turn on. So
Right.
I took the controller, the cables, and the hard drive out of that and put it into a working computer. Got the 1701 error.
Yeah, gotcha.
So then I disconnected that hard drive. I took a known working hard drive, connected it to those cables and that controller. It booted up just fine, which means that I knew that I had a good hard drive controller and a good set of cables.
Yeah.
But
So
the
hard drive that you bought just is roached.
Well, I don't know what it is, because it powers on, it spins up, it makes noises. It doesn't make
Does
awful
the,
noises.
The head reader bounce around?
Yeah, it makes all kinds of hard drive noises, and
Yeah.
it spins up fast, and the light blinks. But I get 1701 on it every time, which could mean, I mean, 1701 could be a bad cable, but I know the cable works fine with a different hard drive, so that's not it. And I've tried other cables that I've also confirmed work well.
Did you look up 1701?
It's
Google
it's
it,
basic.
whatever?
Well, I've Googled that in the past, and basically it's one of those generic errors that can mean any number of things.
Well, did you go through the list? That's my point.
Well, my experience has told me what it could be. It could be a cable being connected the wrong way. It could be the wrong cable connector. It could be the wrong jumper setting. It could be I had the jumper set for it to be drive 2, but I've had it hooked up into the spot for drive 1 or something like that. So I got the documentation for the hard drive, and so I've confirmed that the hard drive's jumper is set correctly. The cables are connected correctly. The driver works. The cables work, and I still get a 1701 error. And so the most likely thing is that it's just a bad hard drive. But, is there anything else I could do? I don't know, but I'm hoping that maybe someone might have an idea. But I also took the chance to stream about these things because a lot of the vintage computer streamers, they don't deal with this so much, or they don't dive into this because generally the angle is just put in an XT-IDE card, just put in a more modern way of doing the data storage.
Yes.
So I actually went through, this is what I did, this is what I got, this is what it could mean, this is what, I tested with the known drive, this works, so this means it's not that. As you accumulate things, accumulate cables are good, accumulate extra, controllers. Ones
Now,
that
did
that
you
are
look
good.
at the jumpers to that drive? Remember the good old days where they had these pins that you put in jumpers?
I did say earlier that I did check that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Just double checking.
Okay, yeah, because I got the documentation for the drive and checked what the jumpers should be just to verify. I mean, because you're starting from a state of assuming that it was configured properly when it was last in the tower, so you shouldn't need to touch those jumpers. But it's good to verify those things when you're getting an error that could be caused by that. So yes, I did check the jumpers. Now Sparky suggesting that I should tap the HD on the table to loosen up the rust, just like tapping a car starter. That's not a bad idea, actually. my tandem.
Here's
hard drive-
another idea. Is there a spike going through the hard drive?
No,
Oh, darn.
no. Because if there was, it'd be game over.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a big old piece of metal.
Someone
sticking
really
through
didn't want anyone ever reading this again.
it. Exactly. And I have done that to hard drives that I'm going to get rid of.
Well, I remember what we had Marvin's old hard drive on the museum in the conference room.
Yeah.
That was like a block of Swiss cheese because he took it to the drill press.
Really? All right.
You don't remember that? It was on that shelf the entire time I was working there.
I just
The
can't
Swiss cheese hard drive. Yeah, he
Right.
drilled all kinds of. Yeah, but my
Yeah, the
tandem.
drill press is a good idea. I like the big old spike, though. It's like killing the vampire.
I will say that I have several Seagate ST2. Are they 225 or 255? Whatever it is, it was a pretty common 20 megabyte hard drive at the time. I have at least 3 or 4 of them, and they all work fine. Never gave me a problem. I have 3 or 4 of these Tandon hard drives. That's exactly the same model that our family computer had. So I want that type of drive, not because it's good or because it performs well, but because it looks right and it sounds right. Because nostalgia.
You're the sentimental guy. Yes.
These drives are awful. Out of the one that I have working, it doesn't work whenever I put the computer away and take it out. Anytime I take it out after sitting for a while, it does this thing where it powers on and you hear it's trying to move the head, but it's struggling to move the head. And then if it can't move the head, it eventually just powers itself down. Like you could hear it click off. And I found that what I have to do anytime I take it out of storage is I have to take the hard drive out of the computer, and there's like the little stepper thing that moves the head across. It has like a pin that's coming out of the side that you can actually turn with your finger. So I get some machine oil. I drop a little bit, like a little 3-in-1 oil. I drop a few drops of 3-in-1 oil into the shaft thing, and I work it back and forth a bit with my fingers and loosen it up. And then I connect it back in, put it back in the computer,
do for that.
flip it on, and it comes back to life. Works perfectly.
Better than sewing. Better than 3-in-1 oil. Get some sewing machine oil. That's lighter.
Okay. Yeah, but that's what I've done. I've literally had to lubricate my Tandon hard drive to keep it working, and I don't think that's a I don't think the documentation will tell you to do that.
I like Sparky's idea. Make my day.
Make my day. Shooting the HD with a 9mm. Yeah, but so
except
anyways,
he would use something slightly bigger.
So the point is that some physical help to help the hard drive along is not the worst suggestion. Of course, you don't want to tap it too hard because you don't want to make the head start clunking against the platters and doing damage that way. But this hard drive doesn't have an obvious thing that I can oil, and it doesn't sound like it's struggling and powering off. It's spinning up. Now, it spins up loud, which these drives typically were. Does it sound new? I don't know what this drive sounds like new. I've had some hard drives that make some pretty scary sounds, but they still work. For how long, I don't know.
Right. So you get the data off of them once you get it functioning,
and then you just use them until they die.
Have that on have that backed up on something else.
But I can't get this one to spin up. Now I found that whoever owns the manufacturer name for this drive, they seem to have an interest in the history of their hard drives, and have a few YouTube videos of them on spinning platters, and they have a form to reach out to them or contact them. So I've actually reached out to the company that manufactured these drives, or whatever that current company is, and gave them some details.
Now, have you worked with Miniscribe drives?
No.
Yeah, I had some Miniscribe. They were pretty popular in the 80s as an alternative. They were cheaper than, I think IBM was selling Tandons and maybe Seagates. I think Seagates were early, and then Tandons. And then they got into Miniscribe, and third parties would go to Miniscribe. Miniscribes were good until that company decided that they can't keep up with it, and they destroyed their company.
Oh, so this hard drive that I'm working on is manufactured by Micropolis.
Ooh.
Are you familiar with them?
No. Let me Micropolis drives.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's a full height drive, but the label says that it's 42 megabytes. Which usually full height hard drives are like
DuckDuckGo
5 or
recognized my Micropolis Corporation on Wikipedia. How about that?
10. Yeah.
Chatsworth, California.
So I've reached out to
Founded
them.
in 76.
So I've reached out to them and explained my dilemma and all the things I've tried to see if this generates any interest from them helping me try to restore some functionality back to this thing or ignore
Went
me.
defunct in 1997.
Well,
Bankruptcy.
someone owns the website and has posted all their company information on it. So it's probably not the actual business. It's probably just enthusiasts because it's got like all documentation, all their old drives available.
Well, that's
on it.
cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. I think they actually are making new products. So I think someone's acquired the name and is using it for a new company. But they also have an interest in their history. So that's interesting.
Ultima sold the hard drive business to Singapore Technology in 96, a subsidiary to this Temasek Holdings. Oops. They came up into a securities fraud allegations.
There we go. The Time Machine. In 2023, Micropolis presents 2 new external floppy disk drives. Yes, you read that right. Bold move, stuff a legend. Read more about our 5 and a quarter, or read more about our 3.5. So they're external drives to read floppies. No need to find someone to repair a drive bought from an auction site. Our drive comes with professionally refurbished and calibrated mechanics and a ready-to-run package. How about that? They're probably refurbished, though. But
yeah, I actually could look up who owns on the micropolis.com.
But I mean, it's basically someone has acquired the name and they're using it in a retro type of way. So there is that. Here we go. About us. Micropolis is a new venture determined to breathe life into a legendary brand, a computer brand well known for pioneering electronic and mechanical data storage systems. Under new management, Micropolis strives to live up to the high level of reliability and technical excellence past customers have come to expect by providing new users of products they can trust for years. So their main thing is, selling new product to people that have an interest in old technology.
Did they offer a lifetime warranty?
Doubtful.
This company I worked for in Denver offered, they were memory cards and stuff like that.
Right.
And they had a lifetime
us.
warranty. Of course, the company no longer exists. So good luck with your warranty.
It was the lifetime of the company is
exactly.
Lifetime. But if you go on here and click on support under legacy products, you click hard drives, and this shows all the different drive models that they have, which then most of them have
that's
links.
A long ass list.
Yeah. Because if we come over here, so this is probably pretty similar to my drive because it's a 42 meg drive. And you can see here it shows where the Terminator goes and the different jumper settings and what they're used or not used. So yeah, so all this so even though it's a new company manufacturing new products under a recognized brand, they do have some interest in their history. So I sent them a little help memo asking if they had any ideas what to do with my drive. So we'll see. I haven't heard anything back. So doubtful they'll be able to do much to help me because most likely it's just a dead drive. So anyways, but that brings us to what about the whole date thing? The real-time clock. Well, a while ago, a dude by the name of Chuck, who likes to make jokes about some meditating guru that the Computerland CEO was mentee of. But Ernard Wordhard, I think, is the guy's name that he keeps dropping. Every time I say something, he's like, well, you should ask Werner Nerdhard. I'm like, yeah, you said that like 20 times now. Thanks, Chuck. But anyways, he actually asked to look at pictures of the card like over a year ago now. And I sent him pictures, and he identified which chip on there is the real-time clock chip. And it's a chip made by Motorola. And so I took the chip number and I Googled that, and that brings up detailed documentation of how the chip works and the voltages and the pin output and this and that and the other, which is not an application to actually set the date using the chip. I guess if I was a programmer, I could use that data to write a program to read and write things to those addresses or whatever, but that's not useful to me. I just want an app that works with this damn chip. And so meanwhile, it turns out that the Computerland BC88 was based on another, a South Korean company's PC clone. And so they basically took that clone and contracted them to build, this US version for Computerland for our market. And so documentation relating to that computer applies to this computer. And so there's actually a guy that has a blog in South Korea that's written in Korean that you could use the browser's translator to translate it, where he kind of goes into detail about the BC88 and this and that and the other. Cool. And he actually digs into about the clock card. Now, here's a funny thing, and if Dune's out there, get ready to listen to this. It turns out that whatever app or programming this computer was using to actually hold and set the date and the time used a 2-digit year and is not Y2K compliant. So even if I had the app, I would not have much luck with it.
And which brings another, you were talking about the clock chip, right?
Right.
And it's a Motorola, blah, 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 blah.
It's a Motorola, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the one.
Did you discover if that clock chip has run out of dates?
Run out of dates?
Yeah, well, there's a point where it'll overflow and it's not usable anymore.
Well, I think that, I don't know if that's specifically the Y2K issue or if it's more of a...
Well, it could be something different.
No, well,
in fact, there is a date, 2034.
Yeah.
Which may end up being worse than the Y2K bug.
Well, here we go. Let me, yeah, because we had what was it? Wasn't, that time traveler that came back in time to get a computer trying to work on that error? You've not read about John Titor?
No.
Oh.
Give me the brief.
I think that was his name. John Titor. Yeah, John Titor, a known time traveler that came back into... Let's see. John Titor are pseudonyms used on the internet forums between 2000 and 2001 by an individual claiming to be an American military time traveler from the year 2036. Their posts discuss various aspects of time travel and describe future calamitous events, including a global nuclear war. Don't worry, we're already past the time of that, so that hasn't panned out. The uniform inaccuracy of their predictions and inconsistencies in their explanations has led many to view the story with skepticism. A 2009 investigation suggests that the entire affair was a hoax created by Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, and his brother John Rick Haber, a computer scientist. Oh, and surprise, they have a book they'd like to sell you.
What was it? What was the name again?
John Titor, Titor.
OTITOR.
But the thing that was really bizarre about his claims and that really drew the interest of people.
Oh, Wikipedia has alleged
That's-
time traveler. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
But supposedly he was assigned to a government time travel project, and as part of that project, he was sent back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which was needed to debug various legacy computer programs that existed in 2036, a possible reference to the Unix year 2038 problem. And here's the thing. He was referencing an unknown, undocumented feature of that computer that would be useful for debugging that issue. And it was a type of thing that was very obscure and very few people even knew about. So that's what it was like, after later on when people found out about this feature, it was like, holy shit, who was this guy? Was he really from the future? And he had some detailed explanations about his time machine and the way time travel works. And he wanted to detail that time travel, that the whole multiple realities thing exists. So the further he travels, the more reality changes based off of variables and I'm not. If you're interested, go ahead and spend a few evenings reading up on that. That's not the point of the show, but that is what you made me think of, because that known issue is exactly kind of the central point of this time traveling story. But John Titor, that's the dude. Anyways, the point is that I have this South Korean blog posting here with some information that I'm going to share the screen. And I will say that I have been able to use this guy's software to set the date and time on the time chip. Unfortunately, he has not provided a piece of software that will allow me to then take that date and time that's set on the chip and set it to the software clock from the AutoExec BAT file when booting up. So I'm halfway there. But if I reload this South Korean site, it will give me an option here to translate to English, and all these fun little pictures will start turning into words. And so, see, the Computer Land BC-88 was based on the Tri-Gem 88. And here he even goes into how it was rebranded to the BC-88. And sometimes there's a little bit of lag between the translation taking place as you scroll. And I mean, this guy really goes into detail about this machine and the dip switches and the pin outs here, and these are the connectors that connect to the battery. And he's done some other. I've not fully read all of this. I've skimmed it, and then when I got to the clock stuff, I studied it a little more. But here's where I run into a problem. So we come down here a bit more. And eventually he starts talking about the clock. And let's see. Where is he talk about the clock? Well, this is some other stuff. He's got the CP84, which lets you set the speed. He's got some ROM stuff and some other data relating to this machine, so that's useful stuff. And here we go. RTC, real-time clock. Let's see. So here he kind of goes into RTC read-write success is RAIN when modified to 20H per second model. You can see it's going well as an enemy. So Hollow, RTC has become available, but since the program is only available until 1999, it simply creates a program RTC2K that modifies the dossier using 2A read 2B write of DOS's raw reading writing interrupt into 21H and uses it together. So he basically made this.
Oops. Hang on a second.
Okay.
The year 2020 is set as a standard. Okay.
Right. He made a but the thing is that I've not figured out how to use this. The method of using it is done by entering the newly modified clock program RTC BC88E to RTC2K in the AutoExec bat file. RTC2K program runs after entering the year you want to replace it with the parameter switch value. If it does...
Now, have you done a search for that program name?
Well, he has these apps. The thing is that, let's see, RTC BC88E runs the program, which still asks you for the date and time. It doesn't just automatically set it. So I've not figured out how adding this into the AutoExec batch file is going to help me. I mean,
Are
the
there
RTC
parameters to the program? Maybe one sets it, one reads it, one...
No, he doesn't list any. And again, this translation is a little tricky because he references putting this in the AutoExec batch file, but if I run it, it brings this screen up, BC88 Real-Time Clock Utility version 1.01a, which he wrote this program, I believe, which is based off of another program, and it asks you new date, new time, return to DOS. So it lets you set the date and time in the hardware clock, but even running this doesn't set the date and time in the software clock. And I've confirmed that if I power my computer off and I power my computer back on, it's back to being January 1st, 1980. But even if I don't set the date and time and leave it at January 1st, 1980, and then I run RTC BC88E, the clock card has retained the date and time. So at least I've confirmed that the battery change works. I just haven't figured out how this program is supposed to actually take that date and time and set
stick it to and tell DOS what the heck time it is.
And tell it to DOS because it just brings this screen up. Now, the other thing I noticed is as I scroll down more here, he then has another program that he created. Update, a dedicated RTC program was created. rtcdrv.exe. And if you do rtcdrv.exe space R, that writes the RTC time to DOS. And RTC drv.xer 2023 or 2024 will set that 4-digit year to DOS. And then S will basically set the real-time clock based on what's in DOS if you need to do it the other way for some reason. And there's this nice handy 7Z file that you can download. However, he password protected the 7Z file, and he didn't say what the password is. So I can't use it.
So Google, what's the password for RTD2?
This is his own personal program. The only person that knows that password is the person that wrote this blog entry. And
well, maybe somebody hacked it.
He has. Well, then I Googled how to hack 7Z files, and that got me reading instructions from Linux elitist pricks that think I know how to get the apps that they're talking about using. And when I try to, Google how to install those apps, it starts talking about downloading and compiling shit. And I don't know how to do that shit. So I'm out of luck. And not to mention, what do those things do? They basically try to hack the password using a text document of a dictionary. Meanwhile, this guy's South Korean. What are the chances that he used an English word as the password?
Right.
So,
Well, can you ask him questions directly? Oh, by the way, hey, how do I use this?
Well, this blog entry is years old, I think, at this point.
Is there a comment section on this blog?
Well, I'd have to sign up for an account, and I haven't gotten to that point yet. But anyways... Okay. Here's the thing. This guy. So here
and
he's got.
If there's a comment section, maybe someone's already asked that question since it's years old.
No, but you know what I've done? I've referenced this article on the Vintage Computer Forums I participate in among the PC experts and see if they have any ideas based on reading this article. Sure. But anyways, here is a picture of what the original battery looks like. And that picture looks just like what all 4 of my batteries looked like. Nice green crusties on the side of this thing that has metal leads that are soldered onto a board. And one of the few things that Google will find when you Google Computerland BC88 is there is an online store that sells batteries for just about everything that actually has a battery that they list as the right battery for a Computerland BC88. And wouldn't you know it, when you give them your credit card number, they fulfill the order and send you the batteries. So nice. I actually bought 3 of these replacement batteries. And
Nice.
just before this show, I soldered the third one into place on the third machine because I tested it on the
Nice.
I tested on the two machines I care less about before I did it on the good one.
And just hope that you can. And that is that just for the clock, or is that for the whole machine?
No, it's for
Keeping the settings.
the only thing the battery is needed for is for the clock to keep time. That's the only reason a
Okay,
computer really
alright.
needs any battery power when you turn it
Well,
off.
it's not remembering. It's not saving memory.
Right. I mean, it's
Memory
it's
settings.
it's an XT class machine. You turn it on, it loads the BIOS from the beginning, and the only reason the date works is because it this component
Sure.
with the battery holds onto the date, and you have to run a command to read the date off of there and set it into the software date and time.
into the running system. Yeah.
Which you would hopefully have a command that could automate that process that you could set to the AutoExec bat file so that the computer automatically sets its date and time every time
Sure.
you turn it on.
Right.
And now here are close-up pictures of the connectors J4 and J5 on the board. And I've already figured out that J4 is basically your power connectors that feed off of the battery, because this component is attached to the front of the machine, and there's a wire that comes out that clips into here. And the J5 is actually what controls the speed LED that makes that LED glow green if it's set to like 4 megahertz. And,
Nice.
and amber if it's set to 8 megahertz. So you have a visual reference as to what mode it's in. And this guy, instead of replacing this battery with a brand new one like I did, he instead put one of these button cell sockets and connected it directly to the connector there. But then he's even gone further because he ran into some other issues, and as a result, he came up with a this little circuit that he attached to the chip, and so that now he has this like new clock chip installed on this thing. And I don't know why he did all this. I kind of read through it, but it's kind of a mediocre translation. I think he was having some time drift issues, but I don't understand why we would have serious time drift issues when this computer worked perfectly fine in the 80s. So, maybe the battery he tried to put on here wasn't performing to the level of this battery. I don't know. But this dude went this is not this doesn't bode well that I am on a quest to try to get this thing to keep time, and I'm seeing the only other person in the world that has made these same efforts has gotten to the point of breadboarding things on top of chips to customize it to hold time properly. This is not a good sign if this is the level I'm going to have to go to get this damn thing to not ask me the date and time every time I turn it on. I hopefully it doesn't come to this. I don't know why he's doing all this, but I mean, this is getting ridiculous here, some of these pictures. Not to mention, some of these things are crossed out, so I guess he's changed some of his mind. Let's see, 3.6 batteries not used. PC plus 5 volt can be used with each other through... No, but you need that plus 5 volt to stay powered even when you turn it off. Let's see. The use of a 3.5 volt battery through one diode has made it difficult to improve the damage that causes it to work unstable at some point to strengthen to 2.9 to 2.4 level. I learned when I was making another main board a long time ago. See, I need to read over this in more detail is what I need to do. I mean, what is this guy doing? I don't know. But all I know is that this guy has the password I need for the app that's going to let me do what I'm trying to do. Although I still find it weird that he suggests that putting this command in the AutoExec batch file should be a thing. But like I said, this command just manually asks me to set it every time, and it doesn't even set the software clock. So I don't get it. I don't know what this is doing that he thinks it's going to run in the AutoExec and do something useful. Now, this command just sets the year automatically based on what you type in. So you could put that in your AutoExec bat file, and then you only have to update it once a year. But again, it doesn't write it to the software clock. It writes it to the real-time clock chip. What I really want is something in the AutoExec bat file that writes the date to the software clock. And I've just not He's not referenced a syntax that does it. I mean, this right here says all except batch, and then says this parenthesis here is a description, not syntax. The method using is done by entering the newly modified clock program in the AutoExec.bat file. Runs after entering the year you want to replace it with. No, this doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. My show has become, let's watch gators stare at a screen and continue to say over and over again, it doesn't make sense. I need to close this. I need to stop doing this, or I'm just going to keep staring at the screen. Sparky wants to know if he heard his name. I don't know. Did I say anything about something making sparks? Did Dune and ModPro leave? Do I have the auditorium all to myself? It's the clock on one chip all by itself. Well, I don't entirely know. I know there is a Motorola chip on the board, on the computer board, that is the clock chip, and I'm guessing that. I mean, basically it's a 3.5 volt battery that feeds power to the board that must feed it to that chip. So I guess that chip has some a bit of RAM that holds on to it, but it's also got to have something that keeps time. It's got to have some kind of thing that continues to keep time and update itself. So I don't even know if it's the chip by itself or if it's a circuit that involves that chip, because certainly there's power coming into it from a battery. So I don't know what the full circuit is that is the clock, but basically there is a powered circuit powered by a 3.5 volt battery that keeps time, so that when you turn on your computer, you can run a command that will pull that time, and that way you don't have to tell it what time it is every time you turn it on.
Right.
Anyways, well, if no one's here, we may as well talk politics.
Sparky, you're not there anymore?
Well, Sparky's still here, but he
Oh, okay.
he doesn't leave when we talk politics. Dune, on the other hand, well, I don't even know.
Wait, in fact,
Sometimes-
let's talk about. Did you guys get into my outgoing phone message on the show with Dune?
Your outgoing. Oh no, because Dune wasn't around yesterday because he's traveling for business.
Oh,
So we have not gone into it yet.
so were you? Well, yesterday I thought it was Saturday. Oh, you were on Saturday, right?
I was on Saturday talking about hard drives. Sunday
okay.
is when Dune and I do our show.
Yeah. Okay, so he hasn't done his show. Okay, all right.
No, but anyways, I find myself spending a lot of time thinking about like the drama in the House with the whole speakership, and basically, I guess this is a thing that's in some sense, some of the concepts have always existed, but it just really bothers me that we're in a state now where the game in the House is obstruction. That is
Sure.
like,
and that has happened before. It just seems to be worse now.
well, yeah, and it's like because this isn't about this is basically the game is to prevent things coming up for a vote, that the votes are there.
Well, the interesting thing,
And that's a
is
big
that
part of politics.
Mike Johnson, who would have never thought he was going to do this, put out 3 bills: one to fund Israel, that
Right.
was a given; one to fund the Ukraine. I
Right.
didn't think it was, and then there's a third one. I forget who we're going to fund.
The country
No,
not
no,
have a
no.
shutdown.
These that we're talking about foreign operations.
Okay,
So sending money to Israel, sending money to
right.
the
He funded
Ukraine.
Israel, Ukraine, and he
There was a third one, I thought.
and these were things that crossed with he had to go across the aisle. They
Because
crossed
over Ukraine,
right.
Marjorie Taylor Greene said, "We're going to get rid of you if you do that."
Right. Because
So he stood
she-
up to her threat.
So this has become a punishable event to bring things up for a vote that has the votes when there's a group of people that don't want the thing that the votes are there to go through. So the game is obstruction.
Oh, Sparky says he's got a video.
You know what?
that explains
I
what
like
he
this.
can do.
I like this. I don't know. I like that Sparky has sent us something to watch and consider.
Do it.
So
Do it.
yeah.
Do
I
it.
am gonna bring this. Sent us something to. I need to bring up my Twitch feed here, and we're gonna bring up our YouTube feed.
Donald Trump.
All right, so we're gonna. Oh, we're off to a great start with the first two words.
Yeehaw.
Oh, this is called "Secret Plot to Steal the House Revealed." Okay, all right. Let's check this out. I'm just trying to figure out how to share the. I have too many tabs open right now. All right, so we're gonna share that tab. Is what we're gonna do. The secret plot to steal the house revealed. All right.
Donald Trump made a stealth move and brought Mike Johnson to Mar-a-Lago. A lot of people were confused. Why would Trump go against Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of his closest allies, and support Mike Johnson when Mike Johnson was giving aid to Ukraine? The next night after that happened, I went on my show as Professor Toto and told you exactly the reason why. You can go watch that video right now at thetruth.tv. thetruth.tv. And when you get there, you'll see a big headline on one of my videos. Why did Trump stand with Mike? Well, the reason I want you to watch that video, it's about 10 minutes long, is because I told you so. I told you so. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it has been revealed by Matt Gaetz and others that in fact, Mike Johnson was not concerned about saving his speakership because he wanted to save the House. Okay? This is very important. Matt Gaetz and others have revealed that over the last 2 to 3 days, there was a secret strategy by moderate Republicans, or rhinos, for a better word. Here was the plan. If Mike Johnson did not pass Ukraine aid, if he did not vote for it, there was going to be at least 5 moderate Republicans resign immediately. Now, we already have a very
that would ruin
thin majority. I think we're down to 3, I believe, as our majority. I may be wrong on that number, but somewhere close to there. If we lost 5 members of the House, guess what happens to the House immediately?
Democrat majority.
It goes to the Democrats. And guess who becomes your House Speaker at that time? Hakeem Jeffries.
Yep.
For all of you that were second guessing Donald Trump, you were wrong. As always, the chess master was working to stand with Mike Johnson, even though he did not agree with the Ukraine aid or the FISA warrants. But Mike Johnson is trying to save the House from Hakeem Jeffries. Why? Very important. When the Supreme Court ruled on the case in Colorado to keep Donald Trump on the ballot in Colorado, at the end of their ruling, they wrote that the decision to remove Trump from the ballot should go to the House of Representatives. Guess what?
Oh, so we're going into why, which does Trump need a reason more than his own presidency to want Republican control to reign in that? Well, yes, he does, because Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump. But we're going to, I think we got the gist of that.
Yeah. I mean, he goes into a rabbit hole, and then you want to watch this other video. I thought this video was going to be about that, but whatever. Yeah.
Now, the theory makes sense. The theory being that if 5 moderate Republicans would threaten to resign, which would throw the House majority of the Democrats, that would certainly be a very motivating factor to take action to prevent that mass resignation from happening. I'd need to see the receipts on the actual 5 Republicans threatening to resign. I also resent referring to a moderate as a rhino, suggesting because you're suggesting that Republicans that don't completely agree with you are not Republicans is very dismissive. That term needs to go away.
It's not going to. Until, no, it's never going to go away. They were using that before Trump came along.
Well, I asked myself, because I've thought, because this is a discussion where we can really talk about issues that can apply both ways. Because let's face it, Democrats and Republicans are all responsible for playing these games. Pelosi knew how to wield the gavel, being a Speaker of the House, and played these games as well.
And Biden's background with the Senate, he knew how to play the game.
Yeah. They all play these games. So I'm not necessarily here just to bash Republicans. It's just that
this is how it works.
This is how it works. But if I were going to try to discuss this with someone, we often refer to, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and those groups as the extremists. And I kind of wonder, the people that align with them, what would they prefer I call them? Because if I were trying to discuss this with them and I refer to the extremists, would that be seen as hostile?
Well, they want to be.
Would that get an eye roll?
Called MAGA.
MAGAs? I mean, is that, do they
just
embrace
MAGA.
that term?
They're maggots.
Well,
right?
No, that's certainly not what they would embrace.
Well, why not, right? They want to use the word rhino? I'll use the word maggot.
But Sparky agreed with me that not a rhino, in my opinion. But that kind of
that's part of the game. This is how the conservatives want to play the game.
But I kind of wonder, I mean, do we think that it's a good thing that we have a system that's based on having one person that has the power to prevent things from getting through by blocking things that have the votes? I mean, why is so much of our system based on, even if you have the votes, to suppress it?
Well, let's put it this way.
How can we get around that?
If there wasn't...
Or do we want to get around that?
If there wasn't compromise, we wouldn't even have a constitution. It's based on compromise. That's how it works.
But democracy is based on voting.
Yes, but not being able to compromise means that the system's not going to work.
Well,
so we have these issues with getting a budget done, and you find that it's being blocked by, I'm just going to call them idiots. Okay. Yeah, they're trying to get their point across, but at some point you have to sit down, compromise, and make the deal. Make the deal. If you don't make a deal, you're doing nothing. You must go home.
The problem is you can't make a deal with everyone, and that's why votes don't require unanimous across the board. And when we have this nearly 50-50 split in our when it comes to our representation, that means that a small block of people could do a lot of damage. So even if you agree with Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, even if you align with them, do you really think that it's good for our country that a small group of people could do that? Or do you just feel that it's a bad thing, but these issues are important enough that it justifies it? I wonder what the mindset is of some people.
Well, some of the mindset is just they want power. Mm-hmm. Nothing else. They just want power.
But their power is depriving others of power. They don't really have much more than that. I mean, it's...
Well, I'm not going to argue with that, of course.
I mean, do we really see a future of Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene getting the votes for a House speakership? Do they have enough of a following to be a presidential candidate or maybe a Senate run? I don't know what the climate.
Well,
like
for
in their
some reason, they
states.
got rid of they decided to go to get rid of Kevin McCarthy, and hey, a lot of Democrats voted with them.
Well,
So what happened?
well, that's the thing is that well, here's
But
here's
that doesn't accomplish that much.
it doesn't
right?
accomplish that much. But why should the Democrats bail out the Republicans? One thing I got to say is, as much as the Democrats saving the
Much more to get
speakership,
rid of Kevin McCarthy as anything else. So
if
hey, might as well let that happen.
well, the thing is that you got to admire that the Democrats have all unanimously stayed in line behind Hakeem was it Jeffries?
Yeah, right.
They've all stood behind him, stood with him.
Sure.
And that's something because I mean, like you look at like what's his Boner. I mean, he talked about what a leader without his people behind him is just a guy taking a walk, and that's kind of what happened to him. And he had to get in front of them.
Yeah.
But and that's such a hard task because the big problem is that you're a leader to a bunch of people that have all been elected by their own people, and they owe you nothing. You know, you don't hire and fire
Well,
them.
I mean, that's always
Their
the risk.
people
You
at
have to-
home do.
You have to,
So
you have to
how do you
know where
control
you're-
that?
You have to know where you're at.
But the
Otherwise,
Democrats
you're
have,
just the loser.
so the Democrats in the House have really held it together. And I guess, you know, when you're the minority, you kind of have a little more motivation to do so.
Sure.
But it's not like the Republicans have much that much of a majority. That I mean, look at what happens. They're splintering and they're suffering for it. And the only thing that can get done is bipartisan legislation, which pisses off a lot of the Republicans because they want their own stuff. I don't know.
Well, here's what gets me is that the big issue that Republicans have is control of the border.
Hmm.
They did put together this bipartisan bill and it failed because then they didn't support it. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I mean, let's face it. When it comes to the border,
Trump just says, "Oh well, you know, if this passes, then the Democrats will get credit." That's horseshit.
I mean, the border has been a failure through every administration in my
Right.
lifetime.
Since Reagan.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Reagan signed the
Since-
bill, amnesty bill, and he says we need a real bill to solve the problem, and it has not happened yet. They gave out amnesty, and then nothing happened for decades. Literally nothing.
I mean, we need more than a wall. We need reform. We need, you know.
Yeah, you need eyes on the thing.
Here's the thing.
Because building a wall is just going to, oh yes, that's right, we can climb over it. Or
Here's
sections of the wall were actually stolen by people from Mexico.
if certain compromises could be proposed by the right, it could be done. And I feel like if anyone could have done, I mean, Trump
They just have
had
to vote for it.
Trump had that real movement going with the whole build the wall chant, you know, so he had like the people, you know,
Yeah, he
like
got a
here-
whole 20 miles
here's someone that's going to get something done. Now, if Trump could have actually proposed a serious compromise legislation that would have handled it all, maybe he could have gotten somewhere. If instead of being antagonistic towards the left and branding them as enemies, he
That's
said,
right.
tell you what, we're going to build the wall and we're going to grant amnesty to the people that are here. And we're going to give you what you want, us what we want. We're going to protect the border and protect the people that are here and give, what's the word I'm looking for? People fleeing, refugees access rather than locking their kids up in cages. You know, if he could have somehow gotten everyone on board with that, he could have been a hero to this country. But all he wanted to do was build a wall and not compromise with anyone.
Yeah.
Now Sparky's saying that Trump built more than 20 miles. It was Biden only built 20 miles. and I, personally, I don't care how many
Whatever.
miles of
It
wall,
doesn't-
who
it
built
doesn't really
what.
matter.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, because Trump came in with a my way or the highway. I'm going to, fund it and build this. But beyond building more wall, what did he do? And you could say that the Democrats obstructed him, but what did he do to try to even work with them? And, then again, you can go back and play me audio of all the times I talk about all the Republicans blocking Obama. So yeah, I'm biased as fuck.
And how many times did the Republicans vote to repeal Obamacare?
But how many times did the Democrats
50?
vote? But my point is how many times did the Democrats vote to block the wall?
Actually, I don't know.
It doesn't really matter what the score is on that. The point
Exactly.
is that
Yeah.
it's real easy to criticize the other side when you think your side's on the right or the higher ground. So I'm just
Sure.
acknowledging I am biased and trying to figure out how I can balance that. Now, Sparky asking if more illegals entered under Trump or under Biden. I don't have numbers for that. I think plenty have entered under both. And to me, you know what?
No idea.
When you talk about, it's always framed as in, oh my God, we have a real tragedy in our hands. A bunch of rapists and murderers are flooding the border. No, my image of what's coming across the border is a bunch of desperate people looking to escape something.
Yeah.
Yes, people.
Well, they
do-
want to put a different lens on it. That's all.
People that come in do commit crimes, and we should
Okay,
try
here's
to
the
catch
thing-
as
here's
much
the
of that
thing
as
I
we
find
can.
Very
But
amusing.
I don't think
Very,
the problem
very
is
amusing.
the
So
lack of a wall.
Oklahoma, who's totally, I think it's Oklahoma,
Uh-huh.
totally against any type of immigration at all. They don't want those foreigners in there. Period.
Okay.
So instead, what they're proposing, because they need the workers, is to lower the minimum age for workers to 14.
Okay.
Dude, you're just telling me that you can't get the workers. You need
I
to
mean,
do something about it.
That is a thing. I mean, the reality is that we need the migrant farmers for our economy because
Well, and they didn't actually say whether it's farm workers or whatever.
I mean,
And
that's
then
a
when
big
you
part
look
of
at
it.
the family farm, which uses other workers,
Mhm.
in the past 5 years, 20,000 family farms have gone into bankruptcy. 20,000.
Well, at this point, most of our farming is done by corporations that have bought up all the family farms from the families. The family
Absolutely.
farms have
They
not
went into bankruptcy.
survived.
They were bought out the big mega
Well,
corporations.
there was a movie that was done all about corn. And basically, you cannot make a profit growing corn without filling an application for government subsidies. It's just not profitable unless
course.
you have the government has to pay people to grow corn.
Absolutely.
it-
Yeah.
Sparky
And that's
Reagan,
not the only product that is subsidized.
now Sparky writes in, and I want to have the opportunity to answer this. Now, mind you, I don't have all the black and white facts in front of me. But I have watched a lot of TV. That sounded way worse than I even wanted it to sound. There has been a way to legally become a citizen of the United States for over 100 years, and it has worked fine. Why are we allowing people to just walk across the border? What other country allows that? Why must we allow that?
Because we don't have the border staffed.
I'm gonna say
As
that
simple as that. It's not
No,
staffed.
No. My answer is it has not worked fine. It has not been working fine for a long time. For one thing, refugees come in. Our policies only allow a certain number of people to come in as refugees, and what are these people that
Well,
don't
but
have a
it's not
home
just refugees.
to go? Well, I mean, it's no. Well, I can't say a million things at once. I have to start somewhere. That's one thing. And let me stop speaking of things I've seen on TV and speak of things I've heard about from real life experience. Gothard has a friend, Andy, who married an immigrant, And that was a very difficult process. I mean, you kind of talk about TV as a joke. Sitcoms yuck it up as a joke all the time, a green card wedding. Well, heck, even a legitimate case of someone marrying into the country is a challenge to do. It is an arduous process with a lot of paperwork, a lot of things that need to get done, and a department that's not staffed to process that. And they did get it done, but it was not easy. And they learned a lot about how this, and not to mention, while they're in the process of doing this legitimately, there were things that she couldn't do, things she didn't have access to because she was not a citizen yet, even though she's here legally and going through the process of marriage. And what it comes down to is a lot of people that do this legitimately are people with connections or people that know people with money because they can work the system to get their people in front of the line. So we need reform, and part of that reform is we need a process that allows enough people in, because I've seen a lot of programs that talk about we're not allowing enough people in to accommodate the needs of refugees that need to come in. We need staffing that can process these things. There's a lot of work that has to happen for it to work. And generally, a lot of people on the right, and maybe it's more the extremist on the right, would rather just toss them all out and not deal with it. Why are you're not our problem, go away. And if you have a large faction that's their attitude, it's not easy to actually get the funding and things they need for it to work right. And so we're at a stalemate. We got the Democrats that can't get funding to do what they want to do. We got the Republicans that just want it to go away. And so we can all point at what the problem is, but if we can't get on board and agree on anything about the solution, what can we even get done?
Nothing.
And that's what happens. And so everyone just, but what we can get done is we can build a bigly beautiful wall. That's what we can get done. So yeah, I roll my eyes at the wall because that's just like,
it's a symbol of stupidity.
It's a symbol of stupidity. It's an expensive symbol of stupidity. Well, is it the worst thing in the world? Probably.
Well,
not.
the idea is that then they don't have to pay people and take care of people.
I don't know. People have been really good at scaling walls for many generations.
Sure.
It
would be interesting to see how many people got to West Germany over a wall when that was there.
You know who they contract to build these walls?
Who?
The people that climb them.
Well, of course, Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
I even forgot about. Oh my God! There's a punchline I haven't heard of.
Oh yeah, that's precious.
That's right. He did promise that.
How the fuck? How the fuck is that going to work?
Well, supposedly through that was more of an analogy or not a direct thing. All right, Sparky's got a question for us. Let me ask you this: if the Democrats thought the illegals coming in were going to vote mostly Republican, do you think the border
But they're not going to vote.
Continue to be open?
They're not going to vote until they become citizens. So,
well, his point,
in fact, a lot of immigrants that become citizens do tend to vote Republican.
That there is that. I don't know if I'd say majority, but certainly there are
many. Just look at.
Well, we're speaking in broad generalizations now.
Look at South Florida. A lot of those are Cuban immigrants, and they vote Republican.
That is true.
Hardcore Republican.
There's, when I think about letting immigrants in the country, I don't think about the consequences those have on election. I think about it's right to do right by people. That said,
well,
Sparky raises a point that a lot of immigrants may vote Democrat, and so maybe that's why I don't consider that point more. And maybe there are Republicans that are worried that this is gonna,
the first step when you get an immigrant in, you got to figure out where is this person going to work? And how's he going to live? That's the first step. I mean, we do have jobs that need to be filled.
We do.
It's as simple as that. And it doesn't need to be filled by 14-year-olds. 14-year-olds should be going to school.
Right. I mean, there maybe a little bit of summer work on the side to earn a little bit of spending money, but
That's
even
a different story. There's always there's always exceptions. I worked a summer job where it was excluded from overtime pay because it was seasonal work.
Sparky writes in, yes, Brian, they're going to vote. Don't be fooled. Once they get a driver's license, they can vote.
That's not necessary. That's not true. Prove
that's
it.
not true. And
Prove
let me
it. Prove it.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to suggest that it doesn't happen, and I have no idea if it does happen or doesn't happen or to what scale. But I do know that the consequences for being caught voting when you don't have the right to vote are quite severe, that it's not worth messing with that if you're just trying to earn a living for your family picking some crops on a field.
And chances are that the immigrant that's not a legal citizen is not going to bother voting.
But
he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. He's just going to do what he's got to do to get by.
See, this is why I wouldn't mind hosting a one-on-one show with Sparky Toaster sometime. He comes in with a good view.
Fist.
He comes in with things for me to think about. And maybe he doesn't change my mind, but I think we have a good dialogue here. I don't know. But then again, I don't know what Sparky's blood pressure is right now.
He's not counting Cheerios yet, is he?
What's that?
He's not counting Cheerios, is he?
No, he's definitely not. He
or
might
is he finding?
He might be crushing them in the Cheerio dust in his fist.
Is he watching Ray Rachel's on the side?
Or Kiera Kitty, maybe? Sparky goes, do you lock your doors at night? If you do and you're against the wall, you're a hypocrite because you yourself put up a wall around your border. So a wall is good for you, but not for the country. That is quite an
that's it. Sparky, you've got the answer. We don't have to build a wall. Just have everybody lock their doors.
Here's the thing.
Everybody just lock your doors. Simple.
Well, Sparky is focusing a lot on the anti-wall sentiment right now. And I'm not against a wall per se. I just think that our issue is a lot more complicated than a wall. And I think that the money could be put to better use and there are bigger issues. Like I said, I think Trump's biggest mistake was not tackling the full issue and finding a real compromise to try to work across the aisle and work with everyone. I think that was his big mistake.
We don't need
one
a
of his
physical
many
wall. We need a wall of drones flying up and down the back. You know, it's actually easier to get into the United States than it is to get into Canada.
Yeah. That won't be a disaster to have to maintain. But Sparky very big on this wall. But the thing is walls are easy to climb and scale. What we really need,
dig under.
Or dig under or tunnel under. And I'm not trying to have a defeatist attitude towards this. I'm not suggesting let's never have no wall. Let's leave our doors unlocked. Let's not be concerned about that. We obviously should be concerned about that. It's one of many things that should be funded. But it's not. I think our issue is way bigger than a wall, and I think there are things that are even more effective
set up a big
than
old
a wall.
minefield along the border. You don't need a fucking wall for that.
You see that, and that's the thing is that there are people that would take you seriously and go, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's electrify it. Let's this, that, but like we're at war, like we're being invaded. That's how it's often tried to being framed." But I don't think that's the reality at all. This is not an invasion. This is not war. Again,
some think it is an invasion.
I'm not fully opposed to
Red
a wall.
Dawn.
I'm just saying we need real policy. We need real reform. We need real paths to citizenship. We need real consideration for the needs that are coming to this border and processes and ways to handle this.
So Sparky,
We need
are you going
funded
to
departments.
Are
We need
you-
manpower.
are you going to put in some time each year to guard your section of the wall?
Sparky writes in, there's a path to citizenship, Johnny, and I think that path has too many obstacles in its place.
No, they don't have enough people to administer it.
Now, Crazy Fist pointing out he was just joking about fry those bitches, and yes, there are people that joke about that. And thank you for clarifying; you were just joking. I'm saying that the path is to citizenship goes through departments that are not funded and paperwork that can't get processed in a timely manner, and people being stuck in limbo for years and years of their lives, unable to do things, unable to live their life while waiting. And that's the thing. The path, you know, here's the thing. The reason why people on the left are against rounding people up and kicking them out to get in line and to go through the path is because the path isn't very realistic. The path is too full of blocks and obstructions. If I honestly believed that there was a real fair path to citizenship that these people should be following, I'd be all for rounding them up and getting them on the back of the line. But I kind of feel like that there's a legitimate reason these people are just sneaking in, because that's the only choice they really have if they're fleeing something and they need to go someplace, and there's no real path of citizenship for them. So if you really want to, you fix the path to citizenship problem, you get rid of the sympathy for the people that are here illegally, and you'll get more people on board with, yeah, you have a path. Go take it and get out of here. But until you really fix the problem, put a realistic path to citizenship in place, you're not going to sell the left on that. You're just not. And Sparky's bringing up the citizenship easy in other countries. Well, you know what? Anytime I bring up comparisons about healthcare in other countries, people are dismissive towards that comparison as well. I'm not interested in how other countries do it. I'm interested in how I think we should. I can't concentrate. What are you saying? Oh, never mind. Crazy Fist writes in, here in Holland, we can't ever. No, I don't need another person that can't hear half the conversation.
I was just cheering you on.
Thank you.
Up the comparison between what people do, what countries do about immigration, and what countries do about healthcare.
Okay.
That's all. It's like,
All right.
yeah, thumbs up.
All right, I was getting the thumbs up. Here in Holland, we can't ever buy a rent house for €1,000. Here in Holland, the healthcare is okay. Sparky laughing at me being interrupted. I was being interrupted with a cheering me on.
So crazy. My brother has a friend that's an Austrian in the United States.
Okay.
And there was a healthcare issue. And well, this person, even though they've been living out of Austria for a long time, is still a citizen. And she just went to Austria to have this medical issue taken care of. It was paid for 100%. And when she got back to the United States, she got a note from the health care officials in Austria and said, oh, by the way, how did you get to Austria? Did you fly or something? We'll send you that money.
Oh, wow. It is crazy, the things that other countries pay. Well, of course, they have higher taxes, and there is that to consider as well.
Well, we have taxes, and what do we get for it?
If you compare our taxes with other countries' taxes, though.
And what do we get for it? Bumpy roads?
Bigly beautiful
potholes?
Wall. Biggest wall. Bigliest wall. Beautiful wall.
And the Mexicans are going to pay for it.
So it wasn't even our money that paid for them. So what did our money get us?
Yes, that's right. Nothing.
Spoken like a true Republican.
We got a really expensive healthcare system.
Yeah.
In fact, it blows my mind. Now, healthcare is supposed to be required, but there's a lot of people that don't have health insurance still.
Now,
Still,
Sparky
it blows
wrote-
the mind.
Sparky writes in, so because not enough people to admit it, it is okay to just walk across. And I'm not saying that. But I am saying that is part of a reason why a lot of people have more. That's why more people sympathize with the illegal immigrants than, you know.
The person does need to have to apply to be here, for sure.
Yeah, no, I
And
think
we
someone
need
should apply to
have
be
a-
here.
Like you said, we need to have
But it's certainly I'm not going to be in favor of rounding up people and kicking them out when it's like, well, realistic. We're talking about people. They're not numbers on a piece of paper. They're people, and there's circumstances and the reasons they're here. Yes, what they did is illegal.
Well, a similar.
And
issue-
I'm not suggesting that we should just be okay with that. But I also do think that realistically we do need a path to citizenship, and we need to fix these problems, and that we need
Sure.
to
Well,
give people their dignity.
During World War II, they rounded up Japanese Americans, and some of them were citizens, and
Okay.
put them into camps. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's totally wrong.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Hawaii, there were a number of officials that said, whoa, you can't do that because 40% of our workers are Japanese Americans. You're going to crash our economy.
Okay. Anyways, but I think Sparky's real toaster for me, real question for me is how easy or difficult do I think the path to citizenship should be? And I'll admit, when it comes to that question, maybe I have a little bit of naivety there. I recognize it shouldn't be as simple as just, let everyone.
Well, you
in
need a
and
program that's administered by somebody that knows what's going on.
Right. And I don't have the answers to those questions, but I do know that the stories and circumstances I hear about have suggested to me that it's not being run the way that I think it should be, or that's right, that the path is too obstructed and too hard. And we have many situations where people are sneaking in because they just don't have any other realistic options to them. They're refugees from countries that will kill them if they go back, or they're people that were brought here as kids, have not known any other place as home. There are many situations and scenarios that our current system just is not set up to accommodate for. And so before you start talking about rounding up people and kicking them out, we need to fix those problems and have realistic paths and realistic ways to treat people like people with the dignity they deserve.
So when I was living in Houston, we were building our SAP setup, okay? And we were using a big name consultant, okay?
Okay.
And they said, oh, did you need extra programmers for this system? And then they suggested, well, we can even get you some cheap labor because we have a source of people from India. The only caveat is if you want one of these programmers from India, you have to take two because they would not do well alone. That way they can speak to their Indian friend. Of course, this would be a totally legit on a green card, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay,
But
let's
that would be part of the system.
Crazy Fist has been writing in a lot of things, so let's address some of his comments here. He doesn't know either. Let's see. My niece went to Bolivia for her love, and now they live here. I do think the problem is it are mostly male. We also have a lot of problem with not Netherlands people. 2 Indians are 1 person to work. No, that's not exact. But you have to take them in pairs is an interesting concept.
Yes.
Now, Sparky asking me the question, does Johnny really believe everyone who comes here is in dire need and not come here just for the free government money they get? Let me say that no.
What government do they get?
Well, first of all, a lot of times I have seen email forwards from people who are irate at these free government programs that illegal immigrants who are not even citizens are getting, and I do a Google search and I find out it's a load of bullshit. Citizens generally aren't eligible for government programs. Non-citizens generally aren't eligible for government programs. Now, I'm sure.
Yeah. Show me the money trail.
Now, I say generally, and I speak out of my ass here because, Sparky could very well come back with 10 links of all kinds of programs and all kinds of money that are going to places. And that is certainly something I think is certainly eligible for review and discussion. And I very well could go back and go, well, okay, that's a waste of money. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of money. That's a discussion we could certainly have if we had a one-on-one show sometime. But I do think that there's a lot of made up stories about government money going to immigrants that pans out to not be true when you research it. But let's also talk about the question, do I think everyone who comes here is in dire need? No, I don't. And I know and I don't know what the percentages or the ratios are, how many are people that are abusing a system versus how many are people that are really in dire need. But I do know that, and perhaps these are stories that are being presented to me to play on my heartstrings and play on my emotions, but they're also stories that happen to be true of people that do come here in dire need and turn out to not be eligible or, live in limbo for a number of years, and our system just doesn't accommodate them. And I think that's wrong. I think that refugees that come here that don't have a home to return to or are fleeing some life-threatening situation ought to be
Did Mike Fong
brought
ever
in.
tell you about her immigration quest?
We've talked about that in the past. But yeah,
in other words, she did. Yeah,
she fled.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But no, I understand that that's not everyone. But I'm saying that the thing is that maybe the excuses aren't valid excuses, but if the excuses aren't there, you lose the sympathy and you gain the momentum for support behind other things. If you really want to support building a wall, if you really want to support being strong against illegal immigration, then take care of the immigrants that come here for legitimate reasons that end up sneaking in because they have no other choice. It's all about getting the votes, getting a package together, getting thing in place, getting together a real solid plan.
Right. Meanwhile, it's time to make a plan a rate.
I didn't plan on talking immigration here. You did this, Brian. I just want to talk.
Sparky wanted to talk about it.
well, no, you're the one that suggested who first said something about immigration. I wanted to talk more about the strategies in the House with the whole speakership and what we think's going to happen there. Do you think?
I think it's going to blow over.
You think? Well, no, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, plans to bring up the motion to vacate the Speaker of the House.
I haven't seen what she said lately.
I think she's gung ho about doing that. The only chance that Mike Johnson has is if Democrats save him. One of the things, I've not read this recently, but
I suspect that they will.
Well,
because they don't want to go through that crap that they went through with
the
Kevin
thing
McCarthy.
Is, Mike Johnson isn't well liked by the left.
I hate that guy.
No, he's in fact, he's kind of being out of character as a Speaker of the House, which suggests that he's actually doing a good job. He actually cares about the job because he is on the more extreme end of things.
Well, I mean, to some extent, Kevin McCarthy was too much about the power, and he lost his way.
Well, what did he do to even lose his way? He averted a shutdown.
Yeah, and then the MAGA people, made him pay for it.
What was he supposed to do in that situation? He was dealt an impossible hand.
Of course. Why do you think?
So you can't really blame him.
Boner left, and why do you think that? What was his name? Ryan left.
Paulie Ryan.
But hell with this shit.
let's see. Crazy Fist writes in that is let's see. You need to help people that have nothing and come from a war zone. That is the point. That is a freaking point. Help people out of a war zone. There are 300 people coming in Holland. I don't have a house to sleep in. What do you what do you as an American think? Don't know him. Don't give nothing about him. I do think that I think that I should do everything I can to help. It pains me how much war and suffering there is in this world.
Sure.
All because
what can we do to stop the fucking wars?
It's overwhelming to think about. And I feel like a pompous ass sitting here in this comfy chair talking like that. But I'm not going to talk about the illegals anymore. But maybe my invitation is open to Sparky to do an hour or 2 hour stream one-on-one with him right here, and talk about these. Although I Sparky says no wars under Trump. Whoa.
Sure. Yeah. That one.
Yeah.
And let's see, how long did it take him to get us out of Afghanistan? Well, that's right, he didn't.
No, but he forced
left that to
Biden
Biden because he knew it was going to be a fucking disaster.
Yeah, he
It's a no-win scenario.
I don't know enough about foreign policy
Rip
to
the Band-Aid off.
criticize anyone about it.
Like we did in Vietnam. We just ripped the Band-Aid off when he left.
Now, Crazy Fist goes, LOL, just joking. Anyways, what was I saying? I was saying the
that's
whole
great.
speakership. Well, here's the thing.
Who are we rating?
Well, before we raid, I just want to wrap this up.
I thought we wrapped it up. Did we, Sparky?
No, because we keep going back into the immigration and Trump, and I just want to talk about procedural matters in the House.
By the way, the same thing happened in Vietnam. All kinds of equipment was either left behind or dropped into the ocean.
Here's the thing. The biggest problem with Mike Johnson and the Democrats saving Mike Johnson is Mike Johnson brought forward the articles of impeachment against Biden. And can the Democrats really, forgive that?
I don't know enough about that. Maybe because who's going to be worse than Mike Johnson?
But again, it kind of comes down to Mike Johnson works across the aisle. He pays for it. And now the Democrats need to work across the aisle with it. So I don't know. I honestly, I think the whole thing is crazy, and maybe it would be smart for the Democrats to save him and continue this, bipartisan era that we could potentially enter into, making Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene less relevant. But is it realistic? I don't know. We'll find out. We got to stay tuned. It's interesting though. I mean, it's. To me, it'll be interesting if the Democrats save Mike Johnson after refusing to save Kevin McCarthy, when Kevin McCarthy was way more moderate than Mike Johnson is. But Mike Johnson's been playing this hand way differently.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll just see. That's all.
We all get our news from the media.
That's right.
Every one of us. And we could watch different media and get different biases and then decide which one aligns with our own.
So crazy is what is the largest import into Holland? 30 years ago, the biggest import was dirt.
Oh.
Dirt.
Is
that still the case?
And while we wait for an answer there, I'm going to start looking for who we could raid. Ray Rachel is live. Your old dad is live. Let's see. Tea Eater TV. What is Tea Eater TV? I don't remember that channel. Pardon me.
Music.
It is music. Oh, it's some kind of a live venue thing though. So I don't know if anyone's watching the
So
chat
who is
there.
this other guy you said? I
don't know. Your old dad's labeled retro though. He's not labeled music. So I don't. It's playing match game reruns right now. Uh, okay, we got Sarita in the pools and hot tub category. We got Bipolar Live, Cooking Without Looking. You know what?
I was watching. I don't usually watch Family Feud, but I was watching it the other night, and the question was, which living comedian, would make the best president? And one of the answers that was not on the board was Kevin Hart, and I just laughed my ass off.
Okay.
That was pretty
So Sparky's asking me the question: were you better off financially under Trump or Biden? Well,
actually, to me, my taxes went up under Trump.
I'll say that day to day, generally speaking, I don't feel financially different between one or the other. Now, certainly, I have noticed that the grocery bills have gotten higher in the time that Biden's been in office. But I think it is naive and simplistic to blame that all
Has prices
on
been going down
Biden.
again? Has prices been going down again at the grocery store?
Well, here's the thing. I can really only judge it by what I pay each week, and what food I put in my cart really varies a lot week to week. So I can only speak in generalities over a long period of time. So has it gone down? I don't know. Not in a way.
But is it up? So it's up and down, up and down.
I mean, I've kind of noticed that instead of being in the 100 to 150-ish range, I'm in the 150 to 200 range when it comes to a shopping trip. And although
you're not switching to cat food yet?
No. But I have switched grocery.
That's a plus.
I have switched grocery stores though.
Well, but you got sick and tired of the other guys, right?
Yeah, because they kept selling me rotten meat. So I went to last week I did it. I drove across town to I found a grocery store that gets the best reviews on Google Maps. And and I actually found that the reviews are quite accurate. That it's a great store if you can deal with the crowd, because even going evening shopping on a weekday, it was busier than my normal grocery store is.
Hey,
which is probably a good sign that my normal grocery store is that
required.
Good. Yeah.
By the way, I'm also called the interrupter.
Sparky writes in, wait, if your food prices were higher under Trump, would that be Trump's fault, but it's not Biden's fault if it happens under him? Okay. No.
I think we're going down a rat hole here.
Here's the thing. My criticism about Trump have been about his policies and the way he's carried himself and the way he ran things. I don't think I ever went and said, I never I don't think in those terms, but maybe sometimes I unintentionally do, and maybe if you have an example you can point that out to me to reflect on. But no, I heck, blaming the gas prices on George W. Bush was kind of simplistic, but you could tie it to that, because a big part of why the gas prices went up is because of the turmoil in the Middle East and the way George W. Bush played that hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Crazy. They don't import dirt anymore?
Crazy Fist says that they don't import anything. We're not a land that does import stuff. So he suggests that your suggestion that they import dirt suggests you don't know anything about Holland. Holland mostly exports food.
Cool.
The media would tell you everything is Trump's fault, but the media will never tell you everything is Biden's fault. Well, I don't know if you watch Fox.
I don't agree with that.
I think if you watch Fox News, they'll tell you everything's Biden's fault.
Exactly. Okay, time to raid.
Yeah. Depends which news you're watching, really.
Of course.
Is what it comes down to.
Right. No, we don't have news anymore. We just have editorials.
And you know what? I think someone could try to make the argument and point out what policies Biden's supporting that is contributing towards inflation, which
that's not a raid.
Which brings up my food prices. But you know what? I still support those policies anyway. And if I have to pay a little bit more for food to live in the world I want to live in, okay. So let's raid Ray Rachel is what we should do. But before we do that, we do need to thank everyone here for tuning into another fun-filled edition of
Insert title here.
But we do try to be educational here. And so, Brian, what have you learned this week?
Nothing.
Okay. Very good. Crazy Fist, what have you learned here this week? And while we wait for him to type in, Sparky, what have you learned this week? And what have I learned this week? I have learned this week that Holland does not import dirt. So I am now slightly more knowledgeable about Holland than Brian is. And Sparky learned nothing. Sparky learned how much I can make his blood pressure go up if he co-hosted with me. That's what Crazy Fist says, fuck you, love you. Oh my God, I love, you know what? That needs to be a t-shirt. Sparky writes in, Holland has their own dirt and they keep it. All right, we're going to go ahead and we are going to raid Ray Rachel because that is something way more pleasant to look at and listen to than this horseshit. So,
All right.
thank you everyone for tuning in. You have a great week, and I promise we won't talk about this same topic next week. Good night. Let's put that in.
See ya.
Oh, now we just got to count down 10 seconds. I should have hit enter and then said good night. Okay. Good night. And we are rated.
Yay.
Well, that could have been worse.
Yeah.